The morning the alien ships appeared, Jack Wilson was drinking his first cup of coffee. He stood by his kitchen window, looking at the clear blue sky over Chicago. Then he saw it, a huge dark shape blocking the sun. At first he thought it was a strange cloud, but clouds didn't have perfect circular shapes or gleam like metal in the sunlight. All across Earth, people looked up at the same sight. Giant ships hung in the sky above every major city on the planet. They were smooth and round, with a strange purple glow coming from their undersides. They made no noise. They just appeared, as if they had always been there. News channels scrambled to report what was happening. Social media filled with photos and videos of the ships. Some people ran in fear, others gathered in crowds, staring up at the visitors from another world. President Nancy Garcia called an emergency meeting at the White House. Leaders from other countries joined through video calls. No one knew what to do. This was humanity's first contact with aliens, and there was no plan for it. "We need to establish communication," said Ambassador Catherine Miller. She was tall, with short gray hair and eyes that showed both worry and excitement. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done it already. Catherine had spent her career in diplomatic service. She never imagined her biggest challenge would be talking to beings from another planet. But her calm thinking made her the perfect choice to lead Earth's response team. Commander Richard Hayes stood at the back of the room. His military uniform was perfectly pressed, and his face showed no emotion. But inside, his mind was racing. The Earth's military forces were no match for ships that could appear out of nowhere. "We should consider defensive options," he said. "These visitors might seem peaceful now, but we don't know their intentions." President Garcia nodded. "We'll prepare for all possibilities, but our first approach will be peaceful. Ambassador Miller will lead a team to establish contact." 3 hours later, a message came from the largest ship hovering over New York. It was a simple request in perfect English. "We wish to meet with Earth's leaders." Scientists were puzzled by how the aliens knew English. It suggested they had been watching Earth for some time. The meeting location was set for the United Nations building. Security was tight, with soldiers from many nations surrounding the area. News cameras gathered outside, ready to broadcast humanity's first meeting with aliens to the world. Ambassador Miller waited in the main hall with her team. Dr. Alan Peterson stood next to her, checking his equipment. Alan was a computer scientist with thick glasses and nervous hands. He had brought devices to record and analyze whatever technology the aliens might show. "Remember," Catherine said to her team, "we represent all of humanity today. Our goal is to understand who they are and what they want." At exactly noon, the main doors opened. The aliens walked in with smooth, gliding steps. They were tall, about 7 feet, with skin that looked like polished blue marble. Their heads were slightly larger than human heads, with large, almond-shaped eyes that shifted colors like oil on water. Instead of noses, they had small slits, and their mouths were thin lines that barely moved when they spoke. 5 aliens entered the room. The one in front wore a silver robe with strange symbols that seemed to move and change. This was Drazkem, the leader of the delegation. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Drazkem said. His voice had an odd musical quality, and his English was perfect. "We are the Vornax, travelers from a star you call Epsilon Eridani. We have observed your world for many of your years." Catherine stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you. We have many questions." "Of course you do," Drazkem interrupted. A sound came from the other aliens, a rapid clicking noise that their translator devices didn't convert. But the meaning was clear from their body language. They were laughing. "Your species is young," Drazkem continued. "We have existed as a spacefaring civilization for over 10,000 of your Earth years. We have watched your slow progress with some interest." Commander Hayes felt his jaw tighten. There was something in the alien's tone that bothered him, a feeling of looking down on humans like adults amused by children. Catherine maintained her diplomatic smile. "We are eager to learn from more experienced civilizations. What brings you to Earth now?" The aliens exchanged looks. "We have come to offer Earth a place in the galactic community, Drazkem said. Under our protection, of course. For the next hour, Drazkem explained the Vornax offer. Earth could become a protectorate of the Vornax Imperium. The aliens would provide some of their technology, medical advances, cleaner energy sources, faster transportation. In return, Earth would supply resources and labor assistance for Vornax projects. And if we choose to remain independent? Catherine asked. The clicking sound came again, that alien laughter. Then you remain alone, Drazkem said, cut off from galactic trade routes, knowledge, and protection. There are many species in our galaxy, Ambassador. Not all are as generous as the Vornax. While they talked, Dr. Peterson quietly ran scans of the alien technology. Their translator devices, the small hovering lights that followed them, the thin bracelets they all wore. He recorded data from everything. After the meeting, Earth's leaders gathered to discuss the offer. It sounds like a nice way of saying, they want to take over our planet, Commander Hayes said. Protection in exchange for our resources and labor? That's not an alliance. That's making us their servants. President Garcia sighed. But can we afford to say no? You saw their ships. Their technology is far beyond ours. Dr. Peterson cleared his throat. Everyone turned to look at him. I've analyzed the data from my scans, he said, connecting his device to the room's main screen. Their technology is advanced, yes, but there's something interesting. He pointed to a scrolling set of numbers and symbols. Their systems operate on principles similar to quantum computing theories we've been developing. Different application, but similar foundation. What does that mean in simple terms, Doctor? President Garcia asked. It means we might understand their technology better than they think we do, Peterson said. And, he hesitated, I found something else. Their ship's energy signatures suggest they're not as powerful as their size indicates. Much of it appears to be for show. Commander Hayes leaned forward. For show? You mean like a bluff? Possibly, Peterson said. I need more data to be sure. Ambassador Miller had been quiet, thinking. Now she spoke. We should ask for time to consider their offer. Say we need to consult with all Earth nations. It will give us time to learn more. Everyone agreed. The next day, Miller met with Drazkem. Again. Earth thanks you for your generous offer, she said. As you know, our planet has many nations and governments. We request 3 months to reach a unified decision. Drazkem's color-shifting eyes focused on her. 3 months is acceptable. We will return for your answer then. The clicking sound came from the aliens again. That laugh that needed no translation. As they left, one of them said something their translators didn't catch, but Catherine heard Drazkem's response clearly. They truly believe they have a choice. What the Vornax didn't see was Dr. Peterson in the corner, still running his scans. And they didn't notice Commander Hayes making a call on a secure line as soon as they were gone. The message was simple. Activate Sentinel Protocol. Authorization. Hayes Delta 9. Beneath the ocean, deep in mountain bunkers and in hidden facilities around the world, lights began to turn on. Computer screens lit up with the same message. Sentinel Protocol activated. The Vornax had laughed at Earth. They thought humans were simple and weak. They would soon learn how wrong they were. The sun was setting over the Rocky Mountains when Dr. Alan Peterson arrived at the hidden entrance. To anyone passing by, it looked like a simple maintenance door built into the mountainside. Alan placed his hand on a rock that didn't quite match the others. A scanner read his fingerprints in his eyes. Welcome, Dr. Peterson, said a voice from nowhere. The rock wall slid open, revealing a long tunnel lit by white lights. Alan walked quickly through the tunnel. It had been 3 days since the Vornax gave Earth their offer. 3 days since Commander Hayes activated the Sentinel Protocol. Now, all across the planet, hidden facilities were coming to life. The tunnel opened into a massive underground space. The room was several stories high, filled with computers, workstations, and large screens showing maps of Earth and space. People in gray uniforms moved around with purpose. This was Sentinel Command, a place that officially didn't exist. "Alan!" A woman with short blonde hair waved him over. This was Director Samantha Wright, the head of Project Sentinel. Only a few hundred people on Earth knew her real job. "I came as soon as I got your message," Alan said, setting down his equipment. "I've been analyzing the data from the Vornax meeting non-stop." Samantha nodded. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." She led him to an elevator that took them even deeper underground. When the doors opened, Alan's mouth fell open, in surprise. They were standing on a viewing platform overlooking an enormous hangar. Below them was a ship, a spaceship unlike anything the public had ever seen. It was sleek and dark, shaped like an arrowhead, with strange blue lights glowing along its hull. "Meet the USS Defiant," Samantha said. "Our first true warship." Alan couldn't believe what he was seeing. "How long has this existed?" "We started building it 15 years ago, after we decoded the deep space signals in 2043. The same year we started Project Sentinel." Alan knew about those signals, strange broadcasts from deep space that suggested intelligent life. What most people didn't know was that the messages contained warnings. "There are 20 more ships like this one," Samantha continued, "hidden in facilities around the world. The Defiant is just the first. We have another 30 smaller vessels and hundreds of fighter craft." Alan turned to her. "The public thinks we barely have the technology to reach Mars. How did you keep this secret?" Samantha smiled. "The same way we've kept Project Sentinel secret for over 40 years. Need-to-know basis and lots of fake budget lines." They watched as engineers and crews worked on the ship. The Defiant was almost ready for its mission. But why? Alan asked. "Why build a secret space fleet?" "Because of what was in those signals," Samantha said, her face serious. "Warnings about dangers in our part of the galaxy. About species that conquer and destroy. We couldn't tell the public, it would cause panic. Instead, the world's governments secretly agreed to prepare." She turned to face Alan directly. "The Vornax aren't the first aliens to visit Earth, Alan. Just the first to announce themselves openly." In another part of the facility, Commander Richard Hayes met with Captain Frank Daniels. Frank was a tall man with a weathered face and short gray hair. He had been a Navy pilot before being recruited into Project Sentinel 15 years ago. "Your ship is almost ready," Richard said as they walked along a metal catwalk. Below them, crews loaded equipment into smaller spacecraft. "The Defiant has already completed 3 test runs to Jupiter and back," Frank replied. "She's the fastest and most advanced ship humans have ever built." Richard nodded. "And the crew?" "The best pilots and officers from around the world. They've been training together for years in simulators. They're ready." They stopped at a viewing window. Through it, they could see a large room where men and women practiced in what looked like flight simulators, but much more advanced. "What, about the Vornax technology?" Frank asked. "Peterson's findings could be important." "He's working on it now," Richard said. "If their ships have weaknesses, we'll find them." In the lab section of the facility, Alan connected his equipment to the main computers. Engineer Eric Johnson joined him. Eric was younger than Alan, with dark skin and clever hands that moved quickly over the keyboard. "The data you collected is amazing," Eric said. "We've never had such detailed scans of alien tech before." Alan pointed to a section of code on the screen. "Look at this. Their translation devices use quantum principles that we've been working on for years." Eric leaned closer. "You're right. It's more advanced than our tech, but it's not completely beyond our understanding. For hours they analyzed the data. What they discovered made them more and more excited. The Vornax technology was advanced, but not as advanced as the aliens wanted humans to believe. Their ships are impressive," Alan said, "but a lot of what we saw was for show. It's like they're putting on a big display to intimidate us." Eric nodded. "And look at their defense systems. They're strong, but they have blind spots, weaknesses we could exploit." Alan thought about this. "They don't expect us to even understand their technology, let alone find its weaknesses." "That's their mistake," Eric said with a smile. "They think we're primitive, By evening, Alan and Eric presented their findings to Director Wright and Commander Hayes. "We can use this," Samantha said after listening to their report. "If we place quantum beacons on their ships, we can track them and possibly interfere with their systems." Richard thought for a moment. "We need someone to place those beacons without being detected." "I know just the person," Samantha replied. Lieutenant Olivia Carter was one of Project Sentinel's best operatives. She had dark hair, cut short, and moved with the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly how dangerous she was. When she received her mission briefing, she simply nodded. "I'll need a team of 4, she said, "and access to the new stealth suits." The stealth suits were another Sentinel breakthrough, special clothing that could bend light around the wearer, making them nearly invisible. Not perfect invisibility, but enough to avoid casual detection. That night, while the main Vornax ship hovered over New York, Olivia and her team approached it in a small, silent aircraft. Their craft had no lights and used technology that made it invisible to most scanning methods. "Remember," Olivia said to her team, "place the beacons at the exact points on the ships that Dr. Peterson identified, then get out quickly. Don't engage with any aliens." They wore their stealth suits and carried small devices, the quantum beacons that Alan and Eric had created. Each beacon was the size of a coin but contained incredibly advanced technology. The team separated, each heading to a different section of the massive alien ship. Olivia moved silently through strange corridors with walls that glowed softly. She saw Vornax aliens walking by, but they didn't notice her. The stealth suit worked. She reached her target, a section of the ship that housed main communication systems. Carefully, she attached the beacon to a wall where it would be hard to spot. The device changed color to match its surroundings, becoming nearly invisible. One by one, her team reported success through their secure communication devices. All the beacons were placed. Now Earth would be able to track the Vornax ships and, if necessary, interfere with their systems. As they returned to their craft, Olivia saw something that made her pause. Through an open doorway, she glimpsed a Vornax looking at images of Earth cities. The alien was marking certain locations: power plants, water treatment facilities, military bases. They weren't just here to offer protection. They were planning something else. When Olivia reported what she had seen to Commander Hayes, his face grew dark with anger. "They're planning a takeover," he said. "Their protection offer is just the first step." Director Wright called an emergency meeting. "We need to accelerate our preparations," she told the Sentinel leadership. "When the Vornax return for their answer in 3 months, we need to be ready." Around the world, secret facilities worked, day and night. The ships of Earth's hidden fleet were prepared for battle. Crews trained harder than ever before. Scientists and engineers worked to improve weapons and defenses based on what they had learned about Vornax technology. Earth was getting ready to surprise the aliens who had laughed at them. 3 months was not much time, but it would have to be enough. 3 months passed quickly. The day of the Vornax return arrived with clear skies over New York City. Their massive ship appeared suddenly, just as before, hovering above the United Nations building. This time, smaller ships accompanied it, positioned like guards around their leader. Inside the UN, Ambassador Catherine Miller stood calmly at the center of the main hall. She wore a simple blue suit and carried a small tablet. Behind her stood representatives from nations around the world. They all knew what was about to happen. They had all been briefed on the true plan. Commander Richard Hayes stood near the back wall, wearing his full military uniform with all his medals. His face revealed nothing, but his hand stayed close to a small device in his pocket, a direct link to Sentinel Command. The doors opened, and Draz Kem entered with his delegation of Vornax. They moved with the same smooth, gliding steps as before, their color-shifting eyes looking around the room with what seemed like amusement. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Draz Kem said. "We have returned as promised to hear your answer to our generous offer." Catherine stepped forward. "The people of Earth thank you for your patience, Draz Kem. We have carefully considered your proposal to make Earth a protectorate of the Vornax Imperium." She paused, making eye contact with the alien leader. "After much discussion among all our nations, we must respectfully decline your offer. Earth chooses to remain independent. The reaction was immediate. The Vornax delegation made their clicking sounds, that alien laughter, louder than before. Some of them turned to each other, making quick gestures with their long fingers as if sharing a joke. Drazkem stepped closer to Catherine. He was much taller than her, and he looked down with his strange eyes. Ambassador Miller, I fear you do not understand the situation. This is not truly a choice. Your species has barely begun to explore your own solar system. You are children playing with primitive tools. His voice became harder. Without our protection, Earth will be discovered by others. There are species in the void who would not offer protection as we do. They would simply take what they want from your world. Commander Hayes watched carefully from his position. His finger hovered over the button on his communication device, waiting for the right moment. Catherine maintained her calm smile. We appreciate your concern for our welfare, Drazkem, but perhaps you misunderstand humanity's position in these negotiations. The alien leader made a sound that the translators didn't convert. It seemed like a snort of disbelief. Your primitive species has no position in these negotiations, Drazkem said. His voice was now being broadcast to billions, watching around the world. You have no concept of the dangers that await you in the void. Without our protection, you will be harvested by forces far less charitable than the Vornax. This is your final opportunity to accept our generous offer. Catherine's smile didn't waver. I believe it's you who has no concept of humanity's true capabilities, Drazkem. She nodded to Commander Hayes. Richard pressed the button on his device. Sentinel Command, initiate Operation Reveal. Authorization, Hayes Echo 7. Director Samantha Wright received the signal in the Sentinel Command Center deep under the Rocky Mountains. She turned to the main control room where dozens of operators sat at their stations. All ships, disengage cloaking systems on my mark, she ordered. 3, 2, 1. Mark. In orbit around Earth, space itself seemed to ripple and bend. Where there had been empty blackness seconds before, hundreds of ships appeared. They had been there all along, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. The USS Defiant led the formation, its dark hull now visible to all. Behind it came more large warships, each powerful enough to cause serious damage to the Vornax vessels. Smaller, faster ships moved into position around them, forming a perfect defensive grid. Earth's hidden fleet had revealed itself. In the skies above every major city on Earth, the same thing happened. Smaller human vessels appeared around each. Vornax ship, weapons ready but not firing. The message was clear. Earth was not defenseless. It never had been. Back in the United Nations building, large screens showed what was happening in space and in the skies. The faces of the Vornax delegation changed. Their color-shifting eyes widened and they made sounds that definitely weren't laughter. Drazkem stared at the screens, then back at Ambassador Miller. This is impossible. Your species does not have this technology. We've had it for years, Catherine said simply. We just chose not to reveal it until now. On the main screen, Captain Frank Daniels appeared from the bridge of the USS Defiant. His weathered face was serious as he spoke directly to the Vornax leader. This is Captain Daniels of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships are now surrounded and targeted. We suggest you reconsider your position in these negotiations. Lieutenant Olivia Carter stood behind him on the bridge. Her team had successfully placed quantum beacons on all the Vornax ships 3 months ago. Now those beacons were transmitting data, showing Earth's forces exactly where to target if fighting began. Drazkem turned to his delegation. They spoke quickly in their own language, making sharp, angry gestures. Then he faced Catherine again. You have been deceiving us, he said. His voice had lost its confident tone. No more than you were deceiving us, Commander Hayes said, stepping forward. We know you were planning to take our planet by force if we refused your offer. Lieutenant Carter saw your preparations when she visited your ship. The alien leader's eyes flashed with surprise. Impossible. No human has been aboard our vessels. Hayes smiled. There's a lot you don't know about humans, Drazkem. In homes around the world, people watch the events unfold on their screens. Jack Wilson stood in his living room in Chicago, staring at his television in amazement. Above his city, human warships surrounded the Vornax vessel that had hung there for 3 months. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "My God," he whispered. "We've had these all along?" Similar scenes played out around the globe. People cheered as they realized their planet wasn't defenseless against the aliens who had looked down on them. At Sentinel Command, Dr. Alan Peterson and engineer Eric Johnson watched the data coming in from all the ships. "The quantum beacons are working perfectly," Eric said. "We can see right through their defense systems." Alan nodded. "And they can't detect our smaller ships at all. Their sensors have the exact blind spots we predicted." Director Wright walked over to them. "Your work made this possible. If we hadn't understood their technology, we wouldn't have known how to counter it." In the UN building, Drazkem was speaking again. His voice was controlled, but there was a new respect in his tone. "It seems we have underestimated your species, Ambassador Miller. This changes the nature of our discussions." "Yes, it does," Catherine agreed. "Earth is not interested in becoming anyone's protectorate, but we are open to true diplomatic relations between equals." The alien leader was silent for a long moment. Then he gave a small bow of his head. "The Vornax Imperium acknowledges the strength of Earth. We will withdraw our previous offer and return to our territory. Perhaps in time we can establish new relations on more equal terms." Catherine nodded. "That would be acceptable. You have 24 hours to leave Earth's orbit." The Vornax delegation left quickly, their earlier confidence gone. As they boarded their ship, emergency signals flashed through their fleet. Within hours, all their vessels were moving away from Earth, heading back to deep space. Commander Hayes stood beside Ambassador Miller as they watched the alien ships retreat on the big screens. "Do you think they'll be back?" Catherine asked quietly. Richard nodded. "Eventually. But next time they'll come as diplomats, not conquerors." He smiled. "They won't be laughing at us anymore." As the last Vornax ship disappeared from Earth sensors, a cheer went up from the people gathered in the UN building. It was echoed in Sentinel Command and on the bridges of every ship in Earth's fleet. Humanity had revealed its strength. The universe would never see Earth the same way again. 1 month after the Vornax retreat, Earth was a changed planet. The revelation of the Sentinel project and Earth's secret space fleet had shocked the world at first, but shock quickly turned to pride as people realized their world was not the helpless newcomer to galactic society that the Vornax had believed. Jack Wilson walked through a park in Chicago, looking up occasionally at the small patrol ships that now openly flew in Earth's skies. What once would have caused panic now brought comfort. Earth was protected by its own people. On television screens in store windows, Ambassador Catherine Miller was giving another press conference. She had become the face of Earth's new position in space. "Today, I am pleased to announce that we have received communication from a species called the Arconians," she was saying. "Unlike the Vornax, they approach us with respect and a genuine offer of friendship." Jack stopped to watch. Like most people, he was hungry for news about other aliens. The universe had suddenly become much larger and more interesting. At Sentinel Command, Director Samantha Wright studied images of the approaching Arconian ship. It was different from the Vornax vessels, more angular, with soft green lights along its hull. "What do we know about them?" she asked. Commander Richard Hayes stood beside her. "According to the data we've gathered, the Arconians have been fighting Vornax expansion for decades. They've lost several outer colonies to them." "So they're coming to us because we stood up to their enemy?" Richard nodded. "The enemy of my enemy is my potential friend," Samantha finished. "But we'll be careful all the same." The Arconian ship arrived peacefully, following all the protocols Earth had established after the Vornax incident. It remained in high orbit, and only a small shuttle came down to the newly built Orbital Diplomatic Center, a space station positioned between Earth and the Moon. Ambassador Miller led the greeting party. Captain Frank Daniels was there too, representing the Earth Defense Fleet. The USS Defiant stayed nearby, visible but not threatening. The Arconian delegates were different from the Vornax. They were shorter than humans, with green-gray skin that seemed to have a slight shimmer. Their eyes were large and completely black, and they had 4 fingers on each hand. Their leader stepped forward. "I am Trellox, chief diplomat of the Arconian Republic. We come in peace and with great respect for the people of Earth." Catherine welcomed them formally. The meeting went well, with none of the condescension the Vornax had shown. The Arconian seemed genuinely interested in establishing good relations with Earth. "Your species has accomplished something truly remarkable," Trellox said during their discussions. "You developed in isolation and emerged fully prepared for the dangers of the galaxy. Many worlds are conquered or forced into protection arrangements before they can build proper defenses. We had good reason to be prepared," Catherine said carefully. Trellox tilted his head. "Yes, the warnings you received. That is part of why we are here." Later, in a private meeting room, Trellox spoke more openly with Earth's leaders. "The messages you received in 2043 came from the Zitari," he explained. "An ancient species that once controlled much of this sector of the galaxy." Director Wright leaned forward. "We never knew who sent them. The signals stopped coming after a few years." Trellox nodded sadly. The Zitari civilization fell shortly after sending those warnings. They were the last defense against several aggressive species, including the Vornax. He brought up a holographic map showing hundreds of star systems. But before they fell, they left behind caches of knowledge and technology on several worlds, including, we believe, your Earth. This was new information. The Earth leaders exchanged looks of surprise. "Are you saying that aliens visited Earth in the past?" Commander Hayes asked. "Yes, long before your recorded history. The Zitari were known for finding promising young species and leaving them gifts. Knowledge hidden in ways that would only be discovered when the species reached a certain level of development." Dr. Alan Peterson, who had been quiet until now, suddenly understood. "That's why some of our technological breakthroughs came so quickly. We were finding things that had been left for us to find." Trellox made a gesture of agreement. "The Zitari believed in preparing worlds to defend themselves, not controlling them as the Vornax do." The alliance with the Arconians formed quickly. Within weeks, ships from both species were training together. Earth learned about more alien civilizations, some friendly, some neutral, and some dangerous. Major Lisa Scott led the intelligence division of the Earth Defense Fleet. She had access to all the information the Arconians shared, plus what Earth's own ships were now gathering as they ventured farther into space. "We need to find more of these Zitari caches," she told Commander Hayes during a briefing. "The Arconians know the location of one that hasn't been explored yet." Richard considered this. "You think we should mount an expedition?" "I do. If there's more advanced technology or knowledge there, we need to find it before anyone else does." 2 months later, the USS Defiant approached a distant star system. The ship had been upgraded with some Arconian technology, making it even faster and more powerful than before. Commander Hayes led the mission personally. Next to him on the bridge stood Trellox, guiding them to the location of the Zitari ruins. "We've tried to explore this site before," the Arconian explained. "But the defense systems would not allow us entry. They seemed to be waiting for something. Or someone." The planet was small and rocky, orbiting a red dwarf star. It looked lifeless from orbit, with no water or atmosphere. But sensors detected artificial structures on the surface. "Take us down," Richard ordered. The landing party included Richard, Trellox, Dr. Peterson, and Lieutenant Carter with her security team. They wore special suits to protect them in the airless environment. The ruins were magnificent even in their decay. Massive stone-like structures covered with strange symbols rose from the dusty surface. At the center was a pyramid with a sealed entrance. As they approached, lights began to activate around the ruins. Symbols glowed with blue energy. "The site is responding to our presence," Trellox said with awe. "This has never happened before." They reached the pyramid entrance. There was a panel with a handprint outline carved into it. "The Zitari left these sites with genetic locks," Trellox explained. "Only certain species can open them." Dr. Peterson studied the panel. Commander, I think you should try. Richard stepped forward and placed his hand on the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then blue light spread from his hand, running along lines in the stone. The sealed door began to slide open. It recognizes human DNA, Alan said in amazement. Inside the pyramid, they found a vast chamber filled with technology far more advanced than anything they had seen before. At the center was a holographic projection device that activated as they entered. A figure appeared, tall and elegant, with features that seemed almost human, but not quite. It spoke, and somehow they all understood its words. Greetings, children of Earth. If you are receiving this message, then you have reached the development stage where you can join the galactic community as defenders, not subjects. The being identified itself as a Za'Tari guardian. It explained that the Za'Tari had visited Earth thousands of years ago. They had recognized potential in early humans and had left behind subtle guides to help humanity develop along certain technological paths. We saw in your species the same spirit that once defined our own: curiosity, resilience, and a fierce desire for independence. These qualities are needed now more than ever. The Guardian explained that the Za'Tari had been fighting a long war against forces that sought to control all intelligent life in the galaxy. Although the Za'Tari civilization had fallen, they had prepared other worlds to continue their fight. In this facility, you will find knowledge and technology that will help Earth take its place as a guardian of freedom in this sector. Use it wisely. As the message ended, data began flowing into their computers. Maps of the galaxy, advanced weapon designs, faster engines, and medical technology beyond anything humans had dreamed of. This changes everything, Richard said quietly. Back on Earth, Director Wright addressed the United Earth Council. The knowledge we've gained from the Za'Tari cache has confirmed what we've long suspected. Humanity's rapid technological development wasn't just luck or ingenuity. We had help, subtle guidance left for us thousands of years ago. She brought up images of the ruins and the technology they had found. But the Za'Tari didn't control our development. They simply gave us tools and stepped back to let us grow in our own way. Now we have a choice about how to use what they've left us. The Council voted unanimously. Earth would use its new position and technology to help other developing worlds resist domination by species like the Vornax. Within a year, Earth ships were protecting trade routes and helping smaller civilizations develop their own defenses. The Arconians and several other species joined this new alliance. When word spread that humans had accessed a Za'Tari cache, the Vornax stopped their expansion in Earth's sector of space. They remembered how they had once laughed at humans, and how quickly that laughter had died when human warships filled the sky. Director Wright, watching a fleet of Earth and Arconian ships depart on a new mission, smiled to herself.